Alright everyone, good afternoon and welcome back on this fine Sunday to more Misericorde Volume 2 White Wool and Snow. All I gotta say right now, guys, is that this is getting real interesting right now. The further in we progress into the story, and furthermore, like, we're already, probably past the halfway point of this game right now, and I gotta say, things are unfolding quite nicely, and the mystery is just getting more and more intriguing. So, otherwise, I'll let you all see what's going on, and without further ado, let's get started. Thank you all for watching, thank you all for the love and support, and let's do this. In truth, I had no intention of working on my chronicles. I wanted to know what on earth Eustace had been working on all day, cooped up in here with the door locked. Luckily, Bridget, Violet, and Flora seemed to care little what I was actually up to. That works for me. They procured a chessboard from a shelf near Eustace's desk, and set to work arranging the pieces, seated around the game on the floor cross-legged. Hang on, I can't play stuck in this thing. Oh, crumbs, that's right. We could lift you out of the wheelbarrow if you like. I could hear shuffling and scrambling and a protesting Flora behind me as I scanned the room for changes. Ow, ow, ow! Fuck, that hurt. Put me back down. Sorry, only trying to help. What if we put the board on your lap? What, like, used me as a table? Aye, that'd work. I could hear footsteps as the more mobile pair of sisters darted away to retrieve the chairs from Eustace and I's desk. Is this alright, Miss Hedwig? Oh, yes. Just put everything back when you're finished. Of course we will. They set about arranging the chessboards in Flora's stomach and began to play. They bickered all the while. I did my best to ignore them as I looked at the rows of books, looking for anything different. There didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. It was rather odd. I sort of have to tilt my head down to watch this. Sorry. Better than nothing though, eh? Suppose so. I wandered over to Eustace's desk, nonchalantly looked through the scattered papers. I flipped open the top book on her precarious stack of ledgers. It appeared to be simple accounting. Money spent on food, clothes, etc. The freshest ink on the page pledged a large amount of money to someone for building. That must be the clock tower then. The sum was rather large. I was beginning to see why the clock tower was such a controversial project, but there was nothing out of the ordinary here. I flipped through the pages to older records. Oi, I saw that. Violet's cheating. No, I'm not. You breathe too much and moved the piece a square ahead, that's all. Put it back, Violet, goodness sakes. November, October. I was looking at a monetary records of a time when Catherine had been alive and well. There was nothing out of the ordinary here. More food mostly. I kept flipping further back, hoping to find something strange. What's the best present you two have ever gotten? Are you trying to distract me? Just chatting. You know my answer. True enough. You know my answer too. Well, I don't. It's a secret. Aye, sorry. Oh. Well, mine is as well. I was nearing the end of the book and beginning to think that I wouldn't find anything, when finally, I noticed something strange. A truly eye-popping amount of money had been taken to the Abbey's coffers 2 years prior. It would likely have paid for all the items in the book thus far and more. The note next to it simply read, Sherry. I flipped back a few more pages, but there was nothing else out of the ordinary I could spot. I closed the book and looked around the library. A luxurious sum for the Abbey's sherry was certainly interesting, but this book was old. If Eustace had been working on something sinister or hiding something from me, she wouldn't have left something this important sitting on her desk. Interesting. But not what I was looking for. With a huff, I realized that Eustace probably wouldn't write Teach Flora evil spells down anywhere. Can I write letters while I'm here? Of course you can. We used to write letters to each other all the time, didn't we? Aye, I just didn't know if that was, a secret or something. Moira writes letters all the time. Oh, how does she send them? I think just with the mail cart, probably. What's wrong? Oh, nothing, it's... Something happened here a while before you lot joined, and I just remembered we haven't had a mail cart down to the village in a while. Well, that's no good. Need to fix that sharpish. I tried the door to the sacristan chambers next. It was locked naturally. What's in there? Oh, nothing important really. I was just hoping to find a broom. Eustace has you sweeping this place? No. Just thought it might be nice to help. Huh? I looked over toward the back shelves. Dare I? I say, double dare, yes. Please do it. Let's check what's going on here. It was the only remaining place I hadn't checked. I'd be dead meat if Eustace walked in and saw me snooping around back there. Listen, confront her, fight her. Just don't be scared of her anymore, alright? Let's just do this. I'm curious. And if any of these younger sisters mentioned that they had seen me poking around the back shelves even in passing, I had to be brave. I took a deep breath and walked into the rows of shelves as casually as I could. As if it were the most natural, normal thing in the world for me to be exploring the darker recesses of the library, I walked ahead. It was dark, but not as pitch dark as the last time I had ventured here. A shining object emerged out of the ink. Standing upright in front of me was the suit of armor I had seen in the side room during Eustace's little tour. This was odd. I turned around and I could see Flora, Violet, and Bridget playing chess in the light far away. I turned back around to face the suit of armor, but as I did, something new caught my eye. All of the shelves beyond were empty. There wasn't a single book on any of the shadowed racks. The shelves nearer to the front of the room were still stocked, but the more dimly lit brackets were utterly bare. I quickly made my way back to the light. My mom cried when I told her I was joining a convent. You cried when they cut your hair too. Well, it was emotional, wasn't it? I cried too. I didn't. Really? Piss off, I bet you did. Not a sniffle. Rubbish. I tried the door to the sacrist's room once again. It was still locked, of course. You really want that broom, huh? It's very dusty back there. I winced. Why would I call attention to the fact that I had been back anywhere? Libraries ought to be a bit dusty. Means the books are good and old. I was no fool. I was certain that Eustace had spent the day moving books from the back shelves to the side room. But why? Angela had to hear about this. The superior as well. She would be able to give me the key. I could feel panic rising inside me. I burst out of the library, not caring how deranged I must have looked to Flora and her newfound friends. Where was Angela? It would be time for supper soon. Perhaps I would find Angela downstairs. It was still pouring rain outside. I flew down the stairs and scanned the cloister. Where was Angela? Where was anybody for that matter? Through the lashing rain, I heard voices. I followed them out into the archway and my heart sank. There was a large procession of carts outside the abbey and a large crowd of nuns surrounding them. The builders were here. I had never seen so many carts or so many people. It was as if a whole town was knocking on Limbarrow's door. There were horses and oxen, men and stones. The superior was talking to a well-dressed man with a well-kept beard and dark skin. He was smiling, bowing, and making a show out of introducing himself to all of the present sisters. Behind him, I could see more men, mostly younger, all of them dressed far more plainly. Stepping out of carts, tending to the animals, and gesticulating towards the abbey. I felt lightheaded. I took a few steps forward. If I could join the other sisters at least and appear present, perhaps I could avoid keeling over. I sidled over up next to Margaret and Catherine. There's so many of them. I know. Isn't it splendid? There was no witty rejoinder from Margaret, which surprised me. Thank God for rain. You can see every muscle. I saw a glance at Margaret. She too, then, had noticed her friend's odd silence. Are you quite alright, Margaret? Sorry. Having a moment. That's my father over there. She nodded toward the man the superior was speaking to. Really? Huh. I suppose I see the resemblance. That did get the small smile out of Margaret, although it was quite fleeting. Ah, shut it. I haven't seen him in almost 10 years. I wasn't sure I was ever going to see him again. Wasn't sure I was supposed to see him again. Do you not get along? On the contrary, he's the best father anyone could ask for. Why so glum then? She cast her eyes downward again, and Catherine was left looking bewildered. Margaret was not alone with her thoughts for long, however. Sister Margaret, do you recognize this man? This man recognizes her. Monica, my dear. It's Margaret now. Ah, of course. Margaret? A beautiful name for a beautiful daughter. You will forgive me if it takes some time for me to adjust. You shall always be my little Monica. Yeah. Are you well? You don't seem pleased to see me. No, it's just overwhelming. That and it's raining. I'm drenched. Oh, I was so overcome I hardly noticed. When the men are done building the tents, we must catch up. I want to hear all about your service. Of course, Father. The man beamed and affectionately tousled the top of Margaret's hood before turning around to bark commands at the men uploading the carts. Margaret retreated back under the archway out of the rain, and the rest of the sisters followed her example. Everyone milled about, gawking at the workers as they pitched tents and tended to their oxen and horses. Phew! It isn't half pissing down. Count your lucky days. It'll be snow soon enough. Marta turned to me and smiled wryly. No cloak, you're a brave one. I realized that all the sisters were wearing heavy cloaks over their uniform, just like the one Angela had donned the other evening. I don't have one. Goodness. Well, tell the superior when you can and she'll find you one. We can't have you wandering around all nippy in this winter. Especially not with that lot out there. She gestured towards the workers who appeared to be having a difficult time in the downpour. A few had already slipped in mud, much to the delight of several sisters. I can't believe you're complaining. I'm in heaven. Don't trust them. And they're building a bloody town right outside our windows, for goodness sake. It's gonna be campfire songs and drunken ballyhoo all night, every night, mark my words. Well, if you ever hear about an all-woman construction company, be sure to let us know. We can hire them next time. It's not a place for men, that's all I mean. It's bad enough having the bishop here. Sister Marta, he's a holy man. He's meant to come and give communion and then hop along. He's a dog like any other. You shouldn't say that sort of thing. I'm old enough to know a lecturer when I see one. Those two. She waggled her walking stick towards the superior and the bishop, who were now walking back toward the archway as well. Those two were made for each other. Now girls, as you can see, the builders are going to be living quite close to the dormitory. I must ask that you behave while they are here. Be polite, be demure, and above all else, do not embarrass yourselves. I wouldn't dream of it. You can count on us. Good. Now, the men will be taking their meals in the tents, but naturally they will be spending time within the abbey walls working on the clock tower during the day. They are not to be bothered. I understand that it might be strange having so many people here, especially men, but they have promised to stay out of the way. If we can extend the same courtesy to them, I'm certain they'll barely be noticed. Everyone murmured in approval. The superior nodded, and she and the bishop took her leave toward her office. So, who wants to visit the tents tonight? But of course, it would only be polite. That's what the superior wanted. Oh wow, okay. I mean, hey, go have fun, right? Another night, perhaps. Oh, why not? Marta rolled her eyes and took her leave as well. Oh dear. Never mind her, she'll get over it. I'm sure she'll change her tune after she sees a few of the lads lifting stones. Margaret, who had been standing quietly to the side, finally spoke up. I'll probably steer clear. Bit weird, you understand. Oh, right. It's not like your father will be in the big tent. Besides, you're a big girl. You're allowed to talk to the other children. Sure. I don't know. It's still weird. They all know him. They report to him even. I understand. Do you wish us to avoid them? Oh god, no. I wouldn't ask anything like that. Go make friends. I'll just avoid it. Probably. As long as you're not upset. Margaret offered a thin smile. Of course not. The conversation sputtered out and people began to take their leave. Charity dawdled off into the direction that Marta had disappeared, and Catherine walked with Margaret toward the stairs up to the dorms. Adela smiled pleasantly at me, then left in the direction of the cellars. Well, it's gonna be a strange few weeks, I fear. Things are already strange. True enough. Oh, speaking of, have you seen Eustace today? No. I know she was busy in the library earlier, but I haven't actually run into her. Me either. I hope she's well. She seemed rather out of it when we last spoke. Oh well. What are you up to for the rest of the day? Realization hit me like a brick. Oh no. I was actually meant to help Darcy with the sheep this afternoon. Oh, she'll be cross with me. No, that's not like her. Darcy thinks the world of you. I got caught up with Flora and the newcomers and just forgot. Ah, yes. Poor Flora. Is she making friends? I'm not so sure. They were all playing chess at the library earlier, but they seem to be bickering quite a bit. That's good. That's friendship. Really? Of course. Look at Catherine and Margaret, or Charity and Marta. Or, well, I was about to say Eustace and yourself, but... But what? Have things been strained between you two lately? Strain is a very generous way of putting it. Forgive me for prying. I just worry. No. I appreciate the concern. I don't know. She's rather difficult to work with, I suppose. Yes, I've noticed this as well. You worked together before, I take it. Of course, we all end up working together here on something or other. Eustace is very particular, and a bit intense, but I wouldn't worry. You butted heads before. She'll get over it, whatever it is. I tried my best to smile appreciatively, but I just couldn't believe her. Hell no. Why would you? Anyway, I suppose I should go back and check in the kitchens if Darcy's just been busy with the sheep today. I'm sure she could use some help. Has she not returned? I don't know. I didn't see her, if she did. I'll go with you. I feel bad about leaving her to tend to the sheep on her own. We hurried toward the kitchens through the rain. Darcy was nowhere to be found inside. She must still be busy. I hope she's not stuck walking up the hill in this weather. Oh my goodness, no. She usually gets a ride from one of the farmers after taking the sheep down to the village. She's probably just waiting out the rain. Moira looked around the kitchens, lost in thought. I don't want to tread on any toes, but perhaps we should make supper? Us? Well, if Darcy's indisposed, I don't know how else we're gonna eat. I'm sure she'd appreciate a meal when she returns too. It's a lovely idea, I don't know the first thing about cooking. Nor I. Wouldn't it be fun to learn? If you're also feeding the rest of the sisters and the men that are working on the clock tower, I would suggest you have someone that knows how to cook for now and then learn later. She picked a big metal pan and held it in a way one might imagine a soldier testing the weight of a new weapon. I don't know. There's a lot of fire involved. I'm sure it's easy. I've watched her do it loads of times. Now, do you know how to start a fire? She was resting her hands on her knees, bent low, peering into the bottom of the stove. I haven't the slightest idea. Perhaps you should ask someone for help. Eustace would know surely. Shall I go find her? Good idea. I'll scrounge up some ingredients in the meantime. She wandered over to the larder and began selecting cuts of meat. I hurried out of the kitchen. In truth, I had no intention of asking Eustace about the stove. I was more concerned with delaying a disaster, or at the very least not being responsible for whatever inevitable mistake might ruin supper. Or worse, the kitchen. What a coward I was. Still, I hurried out in the rain and made my way back toward the superior's office. I could pretend that I was looking for Eustace. Perhaps I might even suggest what I was doing to anyone who passed by. My story would hold up to any scrutiny Moira might apply to it. It was Angela who was on my mind, however. The fact that Eustace was absent at all was suspect, and I had been distracted long enough. My hope was that Angela would be with a superior, discussing the Abbey's new guests. She was the prioress, after all. As luck would have it, I was correct. The door was opened for me by the bishop, who offered an apologetic smile as I was ushered in. He and Margaret's father were standing on the far side of the room nearest the door, while Angela prowled around the superior's chair, arguing with her. Which I find unacceptable. This is wanton disregard for our safety. You are being more than a bit melodramatic, Angela. It is warranted. This is carelessness I thought beneath even you. Sorry to interrupt, but is this about the men outside? Of course it is. Tell me, Hedwig, would you feel safe going to sleep tonight? What a question to throw my way. Don't answer that, Hedwig. Angela is hysterical. She's just trying to wind you up. My laborers are all vetted, Sister Angela. You have my word if you will take it. How many men are there? Dozens? Surely. You can guarantee that not one blackguard has slipped past your notice? My company's reputation is everything. We work on manor houses and the like. Misbehavior is punished swiftly and totally. So you admit then that men in your employ have misbehaved before. I heard the tiny sharp exhalation from Crispin, but his polite demeanor never faltered. I feel as though I've walked into an argument I cannot win. If I admit to the reality described, I would never claim that nobody has needed to be punished in my incorporated history. Then the way I've dealt with this reality can never be enough. I think you and the superior are attempting to ignore the reality I'm critical of. A camp full of restless men, young and old, exhausted by work and full of drink, sits outside of a nunnery. Within a stone's throw of the windows to our private rooms, nonetheless. We have no gate, no locks. Thieves, or worse, have unfettered access to any treasure they might desire. Ridiculous. With all due respect, Sister Angela, if my word is not good enough, what would be? Should I castrate all of my employees? That might be a good start. What about curfew? My men are not children, Lord Bishop. They would not take well to that sort of treatment. It certainly sounds like you have them under control. Respect is the greater part of control, good sister. I have no doubt your dogs respect you for giving them such a long leash. Will they respect us, though? The superior slammed their hands flat on the desk. Enough! The meeting is over. There is nothing to negotiate. I'm sorry, Angela, but you will just have to put up with our guests. They are here to do a necessary job. Out of season, no less. We should be grateful. Crispin gives Superior a little nod of appreciation. We shall work fast and work well. You will have your tower before the year ends. By that token, I should get back to the camp and see how things are progressing. Have a pleasant evening, ladies, Lord Bishop. I offered everyone another charming smile and left the office. If I hadn't already known he was Margaret's father, I would have made the connection then and there. That grin was unmistakable. What did you need, Hedwig? I was actually looking for Sister Angela. Ah, what luck. She's all yours. You are both dismissed. She waved her hand toward the door. The bishop offered yet another apologetic expression to me as he saw Angela and I out into the cloister hall. When the door closed behind us, Angela huffed. Unbelievable. She has lost her mind. Because of those men? Follow me. She took off toward the chapel. We eventually stopped behind a shadowy pillar, just out of the range reach. I'll ask you again, Hedwig. When you go to sleep tonight, will you feel safe? No. But I must admit, that has very little to do with those men. Their presence does not bother you? Not any more than the presence of a murderer. Or the devil himself, for that matter. I suppose you have spent your whole life in a little locked room. Men love to take, Hedwig. They will be a problem before you know it. I suppose I just have bigger things to worry about, Sister Angela. Angela looked oddly forlorn. The idea that I did not see eye to eye with her on this matter seemed to genuinely baffle her. Then I shan't belabor it. You said you were looking for me? What did you want? Well, I was unable... Excuse me. Well, I was unable to speak to Darcy, but nevertheless, I wanted to report something rather odd. Eustace has been missing all day. Or rather, not missing, but indisposed. I think she has done something very strange in the library. Angela's face morphed back into a familiar stony expression. You were right to come and find me. What have you found? I was unable to complete my writing this morning because the door to the library was locked. I was able to enter this afternoon, but I discovered that Eustace had taken many of the books down from their shelves and locked them away in the sacristy. What on earth? Nearly everything past a certain point in the library is missing. We should go at once. Show me. She began to walk briskly toward the stairs. I felt a small sense of triumph as we made our way to the cloister and up to the second floor. Finally, it was beginning to feel like I was making real progress. If there was some piece of evidence Eustace was hiding, it wouldn't be long until this mystery was solved. Even proof that Eustace was hiding something might be enough to finger her. I was almost excited as I opened the library door. Who's that? I can't see. The beaky one again. And the other beaky one. Both Angela and I ignored those barbs. Try that door, Angela. The sacristy? Yes. That is always locked. Oh, I'm such a fool. I meant to ask the superior for the key. Never mind. Show me the missing books. Whoa, missing books. It wasn't us. We've just been playing chess. I hesitated for a moment, then moved toward the shelves. Then I stopped. This is where my story might start to stretch credulity. But I swear upon my life that this is true. The shelves did not extend as far back as I remembered them going. In fact, the back wall of the library was perfectly well lit by the candelabra hanging from the ceiling. Where are the missing books, Hedwig? My guess would be in the sacristy. Of course, but which shelves were emptied? Every visible shelf was fully stocked. I don't know. I stepped forward, hoping that I was just missing something obvious in my nervous state. I can't see anything out of place. Nor I. Flora, did Eustace come back while I was away? Nope. Angela had stepped into the row of shelves I was peering up at the very present books in confusion. I headed back to the younger nuns and turned to face the shelves once more. So, I have a feeling that there is another passage behind the the bookshelves. And that it's either Eustace or someone else put back those books that was emptied out by the row of, spacious shelves, or emptied shelves for that matter. So I don't think she's losing her mind. I just think that they, whoever did this, might be Eustace, managed to, cover her tracks. I stepped into the row adjacent to the one Angela was perusing. To my great relief, I could now see back into the inky depths of the full library. Oh, okay, or maybe not. Ah, here we are. Angela, come over to this row. I jogged into the darkness. Now I could see the empty shelves all around, just barely visible. I heard Angela's footsteps approaching and turned to beckon her toward me. Hedwig, where are you? I'm right here. It's just a little dark. Hedwig? Hello? Just step forward. It was as if she could not hear me, let alone see me. If this is a joke, Hedwig, it's not funny. You know that I dislike having my time wasted. I'm not joking. Sister Angela! Sister Angela! I shouted as loud as I could. Angela tilted her head quizzically, but otherwise did not react. Bewildered and a little frustrated, I marched back into the light. If I had to drag her into the back shelves by hand, I would. Oh, there you are. I've been here this whole time. Just follow me. I turned around and headed back into the dark shelves, but they were no longer visible. Found them. Once again, there was only a well-lit wall at the back of the room. The bookshelves around us were perfectly stocked. I half expected Angela to chide me, but her expression was oddly grave. There's nothing there, Hedwig. Yes, but there was a moment ago. I promise I'm not pulling a prank on you. I don't think you are. She's not, because she was just away and then she went back to Angela. So, what the hell is going on? She was staring at the wall. I could just barely see her lip quivering. Did you hear me shouting for you a moment ago? She did not respond. Flora, did any of you hear me calling for Angela? Maybe. I didn't hear anything. Nor I. Really? I swear I heard something. Angela? You didn't hear me? I gave a quiet bellow. Quite a bellow. We should leave. Right now. Oh, so now you're scared? I swear, man, sometimes I'm grateful that they're kind of starting to get, they're starting to realize something odd is going on, which we've been trying to tell them for God knows how long already. She spun on her heel and practically ran out of the library. I chased after her, letting the door slam behind us as we flew out into the second floor landing. Angela braced herself from the stone railing overlooking the cloister. She was white as a sheet. Are you quite alright? Could you truly not see or hear me? I could see you. Enough! Enough! I shut up and stood awkwardly while Angela collected herself. What did you see? The empty shelves I told you about. They were just as I left them. Angela slammed her fist against the stone railing. There was nothing there. But you were gone. And then you were back again. Perhaps I blinked or turned away, but I only stepped toward you. You have to believe me. I do believe you, which is why I'm in such distress. There's no explanation for what I just saw. We should find Eustace and demand the key to the sacristy. Then we can find the books and whatever trickery. This won't matter anymore. Yes, that would be wise. I would originally have thought that was like some sort of hologram, but that makes no sense because she didn't hear her. So that can't be the case. Unless spells are actually real in this universe, then that could also be the case where only for whatever reason, Hedwig is the only one that was able to go through the wall and see through the other rows of emptied shelves. So there's another hidden pathway in the library, and that's probably where Eustace resides in right now. Or she's somewhere else, as they said, indisposed. She turned her gaze to the library door. Do you think they're safe in there? They seem not to mind at all. True enough. I suppose nowhere in this abbey is safe. Not until we find what's in the sacristy. Indeed. She pulled herself up. She still looked rather shaken, but a tiny glint of her usual resolve was flickering in her eyes. I will go and ask the superior if she has a spare key for the sacristy. You start asking around the sisters to see if you can narrow down our location. One way or another, we'll get into that room. I nodded. We headed down the stairs together and parted ways at the bottom. I made my way back towards the kitchen to check in on Moira before anything else. I could tell her the truth. I was still looking for Eustace and would be unable to help with supper. Despite everything, I was still determined to keep up appearances. I was about to say, this was the longest chapter yet. False Signs and Wonders. I entered the kitchen and was immediately overwhelmed with smoke. Well, that's not a surprise. Moira, ha! I couldn't speak. The air was thick and made me cough as soon as I opened my mouth. Oh, Hedwig, did you find you... Moira also began to cough. I held the door open to allow the gray wisps to dissipate outside. I stood in a daze for a moment, overwhelmed by the memory of the beast's sulfuric stench that night on top of the wall. Moira finally collected herself. She was still smiling, though her eyes were watery. Did you find Eustace? I managed on my own, but I could still use some expertise. I couldn't find her. I'm still looking for her, actually. I just wanted to check on you here so you weren't waiting. Not to worry. I'll manage by myself. I just burned one bit of meat, but I think I can cut the worst of it off. The next one will be easy. Learn by doing, that's what I always say. I nodded warily and watched as she plopped another cut of meat into the frying pan atop the stove. More smoke began to billow up as the meat sizzled violently. Could you leave the door ajar for me on your way out? I nodded and propped the door open. The kitchen had a chimney, but Moira was managing to produce far too much smoke for it to handle. I wandered back toward the cloister, unsure of who to check in with next, or where I might start searching to find her myself. Her dorm room, the garden, the cellars, all seemed about as likely as each other. I entered the hallway surrounding the cloister, barely paying attention to where I was going. Oi! A sudden voice made me jump. Watch where you're going. Be nice, Violet. She was off in her own little world. I'm a bit hard to miss, though, huh? I'm sorry. I was lost in thought. Us too, but you don't see us nearly barging into people, do you? Well, we almost did barge into her, didn't we? She nearly walked into us. But it takes two to bump into each other, doesn't it? I could feel my patience waning already. In an attempt to be helpful, I changed the subject. You were lost in thought as well? Might I be of assistance? We're looking for Sister Catherine. Any idea where she is? I'm afraid not. Actually, I'm looking for someone as well. Have any of you seen Sister Eustace? Nah. Sorry. It's no trouble at all. No need to apologize. I offered as pleasant a smile as I could, but none of them returned it. We walked past each other to return to our separate searches. I took a few steps forward, but something caught my eye. The cloister lawn had been ravaged terribly. Deep divots and tracks lining the previously green grass. I turned around and suddenly quite irritated. Hey! Did you push the wheelbarrow over the cloister? They looked at each other briefly. No, sister. You think this little thing could have done all that? It was all those blokes moving stones. You mean the builders? No, the Plantagenet army. No, the Plantagenet army. Of course you mean the builders. Very well. I apologize. She was only looking out for the upkeep of the Abbey, Violet. Fair enough. No reason to treat us like criminals, though. I did apologize. She did? She did. Oh, right. Sorry about that, Miss Hedwig. Apology accepted. I hope you find who you're looking for. Aye, you as well. Flora continued staring at me as Violet turned her wheelbarrow around. I turned back the way I had been walking and continued my laps.
When you want to get off that darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down.